So we'll start with healthcare and agri-tech. And earlier on, I spoke with Professor Ndubisi Kekwe, the founder of Tekidia Institute, great guy. And we spoke about how, 2020 shaped what happened in 2021 and how 2021 will shape what will happen in the year 2022. It's more like a rundown of what happened in the world of healthcare and agriculture, and how they were able to embrace innovation and technology to upskill and to improve, the sector. So here's how the conversation went.
So looking generally, we do understand that agriculture remains a very critical component of our economic system. I think is the largest component of our GDP, not just in Nigeria, but also across the African continent. So if we do not fix agriculture, there is going to be a likelihood that we may not find that progress we want, because a significant amount of our citizens are still employed in agriculture. So agriculture is that vehicle that will take us to that promised land, because it has the largest capacity to move many people out of poverty, at least into the middle class. So in the technology space, there are so many spectrum we can be looking at here. You have the space of the real agriculture. You go to till the ground. You also go to rear the animals. Then there is also the supply chain part. Once the farmers have harvested, how quickly can we take those farm produce to where they have to be processed? There is also the space of storage, and then there is also the space of trading. So in the 2022, going forward, what I do expect is that for young people, through the construct of entrepreneurial capitalism, to begin to build better solutions across the stacks. So we see now in a way, there is a startup. What it does is to build a code room. And that code room makes it possible for you, instead of harvesting your tomato, and just within 3-4 days, everything is gone. It can now extend the lifespan of that tomato. So we think that is going to be huge, because if farmers can have access to that, they will not have that urge of just giving out their farm produce for nothing to middlemen. So we also seen on transportation and distribution is a very critical part of it, because in some parts of Bauchi, some parts of Yobe, because of lack of access of road, of transportation system or supply chain systems, some farmers just allow their produce to waste right in the farm. So we see startups that are building supply chain systems that are specifically designed for the agricultural sector, so that once the farmers are harvesting these products, they will quickly pick them up and then get them to the markets where they are needed. Just a few weeks ago, we supported a group of young people in Kano. One of the things they are doing is to go into the rural part of Kano, aggregate the farm produce from the farmers. So they tell them, we want you to harvest your produce in the next 3 days, because we are coming at the end of the day. So they come in with their trucks, and they now buy everything that you have harvested. They now ship those things to big restaurants, big eateries in Abuja, in Lagos, and beyond. And they are really doing very well, growing about 40% per month. And what they have done here is amazing technology. They are able to aggregate these farmers so that they can have a critical mass, because they cannot just go and buy from one farmer, because that will not be enough for them to fuel a truck. So these technology systems are going to be good for everyone.
COVID-19 did expose so many inadequacies in the health sector, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but some other parts of the world, where some people were able to catch up quickly because of the rate of development that they have. And they did as much as they can to ensure that it didn't hit them. Nigeria, on the other hand, we had a low rate of the COVID-19 infection. We had a low rate of the COVID-19 disastrous rate. Mm-hmm. But we still lack a lot in the health sector. So let's talk about what happened in 2021, probably as an offshoot of what happened in 2020, the COVID-19, of course, and other fevers, the Lassa fevers and the rest of them. It's so shocking that till today, we don't have an innovative way of finding out this Lassa fever, where it comes from, how it can be avoided and the rest of them, including some other illnesses that, avoidable illnesses. So talk to us about some of the major happenings in the health sector, particularly when tech decided that, you know what, I'm going to marry health for us to get the health tech industry.
Yeah, of course, I must also use this opportunity to commend our healthcare professionals for their excellence within the nexus of fighting Ebola, fighting COVID. The world made it look like, hey, that Nigeria was just going to be a piling ground where warehouses were converted into mortuaries because people were dying on the streets. We really have great people. But the difficulty we have in Nigeria is that we don't have a great Nigerian team, but we have amazing individuals. So if we can just improve what we are doing and come together as a people, we will do well. So as you said, we didn't have a lot of fatalities. We actually, if you look at per capita, we did far better than United States, did far better than United Kingdom, and just any part of the world. But economically, unfortunately, we suffered. That's where, health-wise, it wasn't as terrible. Of course, we lost many citizens, unfortunately, but our healthcare worker did their work. But economically, we suffered. When you're talking about bandits, when you're talking about the pockets of kiosks across the nation today, to a large extent, you can tie those things down to economic hopelessness. I can't see a young man who has a promising future ahead of him. He had just gone for a bank interview. He gone for the last interview for an oil company. He's gone for another one in telecoms, and he's expecting an offer later next week or next month. And then all of a sudden, he will get into 5-6. So lack of economic opportunity accelerated most of the terrible things we're seeing today across the country. So we have to have a way to solve that. And COVID-19 was a big part of that contribution. Market systems are nothing but supply chain. Demand and supply, they come into an equilibrium to have a transaction through companies, which are created to solve and fix frictions. And as companies are providing those products and services, they organize factors of production. A key part of factor of production is labor. But if for any reason, because of a pandemic, you freeze that process, what that means that labor part is frozen. And where there is no labor participation, people don't earn income. And when people don't earn income, you know what it means. A hungry man is an angry man. So that is the reason why we are still trying to recover from COVID. Contrast that with United States, where, I tell you this, at the later days of Trump administration, there were always so many demonstrations across America. There were so many demonstrations, one or the other. That was actually during the COVID time. And most of them happened when people lost their jobs, there were nothing. So what young men were doing, man, I am just dissatisfied with everything. Before you know it, they gather at the city, county, and they start demonstration. But Joe Biden came. He went and opened the vault of Central Bank of America and started giving out all this year. I mean, subsidies and free money everywhere in America today. Those demonstrations, protests have stopped. But there was one other problem. You can't find somebody to hire because people now make so much money staying at home from government that there's no need for them to go to work. But that's another problem they have to deal with. But what I'm trying to say, those protests that used to happen during the time of Trump, during the COVID period, those things have gone. So human beings are the same. Our own protests are happening because our governments are not in the lives of our citizens. And we have to find a way to make sure that we can provide support so that people can get better. Economically, it is a very, very devastating pandemic, but we need to find a way to get over it. despite the fact that we have done well. I mean, no one can acknowledge the fact that Nigeria relatively is not a rich country. So I don't want to stay here and say we can do this because we don't even have the money. But we need to do better so that we can stop the paralysis that we are in now. Because all this pandemic, the only way you can solve some of them is to offer them a new pathway to future.
Tech Hub for a smarter you.